In a quiet valley where the mountains kissed the sky, there lived a poor boy named Eli and his grandmother, Nana Myra. Their hut was small, built of clay and straw, and leaned a little to one side as if weary of standing against so many hard seasons. The valley was kind once, but the years had turned harsh. The rivers grew thin, the soil tired, and hunger began to whisper through every home. Yet in that small hut, hope still had a voice, gentle, trembling, but alive in Nana Myra's laughter. Eli was no older than 12 summers, a thin boy with eyes that still caught light like morning dew. Each dawn he rose before the sun, carrying a worn basket into the forest to search for berries, roots, or a few lucky mushrooms. "What does the forest share today, my boy?" his grandmother would ask when he returned. "Enough for us, Nana," he would say, even when the basket was nearly empty, because it hurt him to tell her the truth. But deep inside, the forest had begun to forget them. One afternoon, as the sun beat down on the valley and silence sat heavy on the air, Eli wandered farther than ever before. He followed the cracked riverbed, hoping to find a few drops of trapped water. The ground shimmered with heat. His feet burned. He was about to turn back when something glimmered faintly beneath the dirt. Bending down, he brushed away the dirt and found a single bean, smooth, golden, and softly glowing as though it carried a spark of the sun. He turned it in his hand, and it seemed to pulse gently, alive. When he brought it home, Nana Myra's eyes widened. "This is no ordinary seed," she whispered. "Such things are gifts from the earth to those who remain kind when the world grows cruel." Eli frowned. "Should we eat it?" "No, child," she said with a smile. "Some things grow not in soil, but in the heart. Still, let's plant it and see what the earth decides." That night, under a silver moon, they dug a small hole beside the hut and planted the golden bean. Eli covered it carefully with soil and whispered, "Grow well, little one." As they slept, the sky began to change. The wind rose and thunder rolled across the mountains. Rain poured down like silver needles, and lightning flashed, once, twice, and for a moment Eli thought he saw a streak of gold burst from the ground. But before he could be sure, he drifted back to sleep to the rhythm of the storm. When morning came, Nana Myra called out in a trembling voice. Eli ran outside and stopped dead in his tracks. Where he had planted the bean now stood a magnificent tree, its trunk gleaming like polished bronze, its leaves shimmering green and gold, and from its branches hung hundreds of golden pods that glowed softly in the dawn light. The air around it seemed to hum, sweet and alive, as though the earth itself were singing. When Eli touched one of the pods, it melted into his hand and turned into a warm loaf of bread. He gasped, laughing, and ran to his grandmother. They broke the bread and ate until their hunger was gone. For the first time in months, they slept with full bellies and peaceful hearts. Word of the miracle spread quickly. Within days, people came from all corners of the valley. Poor farmers, widows, the sick, and even those who had once turned their backs on Eli and his grandmother. Each person who touched the tree found exactly what their heart needed most. The starving found food. The sick found healing. The lonely felt love rise again in their chests. But when the greedy came, men clutching sacks for gold, women demanding jewels, the tree gave them nothing. Its beans turned to dust at their touch. The tree, it seemed, could see into hearts. The story traveled far and reached the ears of the king, a man whose heart had long been hardened by wealth and power. When he heard that a magical tree had appeared in a peasant's yard, he sent his soldiers to claim it. They marched into the valley in armor that glittered like steel fire, frightening the villagers. By order of the king, this tree now belongs to the crown. But Nana Myra stood before the soldiers with the quiet strength of age. "The tree belongs to no one," she said. "It gives freely to those who come with need, not greed." The captain ignored her and ordered his men to chop it down. They swung their axes, but the blades shattered as soon as they struck the bark. They tried to pull it up by the roots, but the earth clung tight. They lit torches, but the flames bent away and turned into golden butterflies that floated into the sky. When the soldiers returned empty-handed, the king flew into a rage. "If I cannot have it," he thundered, "no one shall. Bring me the boy and the old woman." And so the soldiers came again, this time with chains. The villagers tried to hide Eli and Nana Myra, but there were too many soldiers. As they were dragged away, Eli cried, "Please, don't hurt the tree. It only wants to help." But the captain only sneered. "Everything that grows must serve the king." Then the earth began to tremble. The golden leaves rustled though there was no wind. A low hum filled the air, rising higher and higher until it became a great roar. Lightning split the sky again, but this time it was gold. A voice, deep as thunder and gentle as rain, echoed through the valley. "You cannot own what was grown from kindness." The soldiers fell to their knees, weapons clattering to the ground. The tree's roots began to glow, lifting from the soil like rivers of light. The ground shook, and before anyone could move, the great tree rose into the air, carrying Eli and Nana Myra with it. The villagers watched, their faces bathed in golden light, as the tree ascended higher and higher until it disappeared among the clouds. When dawn came, the tree was gone, but the ground where it had stood was covered in hundreds of tiny golden beans. The villagers gathered them, planting them beside their homes and along the river banks. Most grew into simple green shoots, but whenever someone helped a neighbor, shared their food, or gave kindness where it was least expected, their plants shimmered faintly with gold. The valley blossomed again, richer and more beautiful than before, not with treasure, but with generosity. Years passed, and the story of the magic bean tree became legend. Even the old king could not forget it. In his final years, his heart softened with regret. He left his castle and traveled in secret to the valley. There he found not riches, but laughter and love. He knelt beside a small sapling that glowed faintly and whispered, "Forgive me." A single golden bean fell from the branch into his palm. It did not turn to gold or jewels, but into a living seed. With tears in his eyes, he planted it beside the village well and tended to it with his own hands until the end of his days. And so the valley thrived for generations. On nights when the moon shines bright, people say you can still look up and see a faint golden glow in the clouds, a great tree whose roots hang down like rivers of light. They say Eli and Nana Myra live there still, tending to its branches and watching over every act of kindness below. And whenever someone gives without expecting anything in return, a new leaf blooms on that heavenly tree. True magic, they say, does not live in crowns or gold or trees that grant wishes. It lives quietly in the heart that gives. Every act of kindness plants a seed, and one day, when the world is ready, those seeds will bloom again into another magic bean tree.